This is your no-nonsense recap for the Ancient Magus' Bride Season 1. Subscribe for more future Ancient Magus' Bride content, and let's get into it. In the mystical world of Elias the Mage, a daring auction bid would pave the way for an extraordinary and unforeseeable journey. With a staggering sum of £5 million, Elias secured the adoption of Chise, a young orphan who had been cast aside by society and enslaved. As they settled into their new home, Elias revealed that Chise would be his apprentice, and during a seemingly ordinary bath, fairies paid an unexpected visit. It was then that Chise discovered that she was a slaybegi, a type of mage with the ability to attract magical creatures who could aid her in times of need, but whose assistance could just as easily lead to harm. That night, the fairies lured Chise into the woods in an attempt to kidnap her and spite Elias. Despite their efforts, Chise remained steadfast in her desire to stay with Elias, seizing the opportunity to teach her a valuable lesson about the true nature of magic. Elias revealed his wish for Chise to become his wife. As Chise finally wakes up after 2 days of rest following her harrowing experience with the fairies, Elias takes her to a Magus shop cleverly disguised as a bookstore. Here, they meet the fiery and talented shop owner, Angelica Burley, a Magus craft artificer, who demonstrates the wonders of alchemy to Chise. Angelica shows Chise the power of magic as a force that can bend reality with the aid of magical creatures, and even transforms a crystal into a stunning flower. In a sudden flashback of her mother, Chise unleashes an uncontrollable wave of magical energy, filling Angelica's workshop with a breathtaking sea of crystal flowers, which Elias eventually manages to contain. Angelica, recognizing Chise's potential, sells her a magical knife, coat, and several other powerful tools. And on their way back home, they encounter Simon Colum, who pleads with Elias for a favor in exchange for the church not meddling in their affairs. But their peaceful journey is cut short when Chise is kidnapped by a dragon and its caretaker, Lindel, in Iceland. As Chise wakes up at the nesting ground, she encounters a wise dragon named Uncle Nevin, who is slowly transforming his body into a tree. Nevin imparts his wisdom on Chise, explaining that dragons don't fear death and live without regrets. Chise recalls a time when she felt utterly alone and contemplated ending her life, but Nevin is grateful she chose to live, for without that choice, she never would have met Elias. As Nevin's life comes to an end, he shares his memories of flying with Chise. Elias laments the fact that as human populations expand, Chise may one day be among the last surviving mages. In his final moments, Nevin transforms into a tree adorned with white flowers and offers Chise a branch to use as a wand, in appreciation for the joy she brought to his final moments. Chise gains valuable insight on living a contented life. However, before leaving, she collapses after expending magic and exchanging memories with Nevin. Upon awakening on a train with Elias, Chise encounters a cat messenger who shares that the Cat King is waiting for them. During their journey, Chise discovers that she may be a unique individual and encounters a mysterious woman before meeting the Cat King. The Cat King reveals an issue within the kingdom, prompting Elias to start investigating while Chise learns about the kingdom's history. Long ago, the first Cat King vanquished a man who took pleasure in killing cats, trapping his corrupted soul on an isolated island. However, trouble ensues when the enigmatic woman kidnaps Chise and drops her into a lake. There, Chise meets Mina, a deceased woman whose husband, Matthew, lost his mind after her passing. Determined to help, Chise resolves to liberate them. Fortunately, Elias rescues Chise and requests her aid in purifying Matthew. Though Chise prepares to cast a spell, her efforts are thwarted by the mysterious woman and a sorcerer named Renfred, who have plans for the corrupted Matthew. Renfred accuses Elias of exploiting Chise and concealing the truth about Slaybegi's limited lifespan. The mysterious woman, Alice, sheds light on the true value of Slaybegis. They continuously generate magical power but cause early death due to the strain it puts on the body. Renfred makes an offer to free Chise, but she elects to remain with Elias. Elias keeps the sorcerers at bay, allowing Chise to perform the purification spell on Matthew. While inside Matthew's mind, Chise witnesses him beseeching a sorcerer to heal Mina. The sorcerer teaches Matthew a potion that absorbs Cat's 9 lives to rejuvenate Mina's health. However, this results in Mina dissolving into liquid as the sorcerer was testing his soul manipulation spell on her. Eventually, Matthew was killed by the Cat King. Mina requested that Chise erase her and Matthew from existence, as the corruption prevented them from finding their way to the afterlife, leaving them in eternal darkness. The Cat King offers her 9 lives to serve as their guide, but Chise uses the fairy's wind power to transport Mina and Matthew to the afterlife, where they are reunited after years of being apart. As she watches them, Chise cannot help but ponder how many years that she has left. After cleansing Matthew's soul, Renfred and Alice depart to confront the sorcerer who killed Mina. Elias reveals to Chise that she only has 3 years of life remaining, but he has a plan to save her. Chise pledges to stay with him until the very end. She falls unconscious for 2 weeks to restore her magic, and when she wakes up, they eat Titania, Queen of the Fairies, and King Oberon. Despite Oberon's belief that Chise and Elias will not have children, Chise surprises him by running to Elias. As they leave, Titania and Oberon speculate about Chise and Elias's future. Chise wishes she had met Elias sooner, but he assures her that he will cure her and they will have decades together. Renfred is warned by Catarphilius that he will experiment on Alice if he fails again. Meanwhile, Elias tasks Chise with investigating a potentially dangerous grim in a nearby graveyard. In order to reduce her magical output, Elias gives her a special ring. At the graveyard, they discover the body of a young woman, and Chise is attacked by a dark magical creature. However, a young man comes to her rescue and crushes the creature before collapsing from bite wounds. To their surprise, the young man transforms into the Grim they were investigating. Alice attempts to take the Grim, but is put to sleep by Chise's sleeping potion. The Grim, named Eurus, has no memory of who injured him. Alice reveals Catarphilius' plan to turn Eurus into a chimera. Elias appears and determines that Eurus is not a threat. Alice pleads with Elias to help them against Catarphilius, who has already created a chimera that killed the woman. Elias agrees, anticipating that the church will eventually ask him to intervene. However, Catarphilius attacks Chise before they can take any further action. During their confrontation, Elias fights against Catarphilius' praying mantis chimera, while Chise becomes connected to Eurus's memories of Isabel. Chise wakes up from her trance and tries to stop Elias from killing the chimera. Renfred arrives and shoots Catarphilius, causing Elias to return to his human form. However, Catarphilius comes back to life and summons a spider chimera. Chise unleashes her magic to summon Tartantula hawks to defeat the chimera, but Elias stops her since such a magic is forbidden. Suddenly, a will-o'-the-wisp appears and teleports them away. The will-o'-the-wisp lectures Eurus about clinging to the past, and he finally agrees to become Chise's familiar, now named Ruth. Alice shoots Catarphilius' arm off, and with Chise's help, Ruth defeats the chimera. Catarphilius admits to experimenting endlessly in search of a way to end his curse of never-ending pain. Renfred and Alice depart, while Blue Flame helps guide the souls of the chimeras to the afterlife. After the incident with Catarphilius, Elias isolates himself in his bedroom and avoids everyone. Silver, the fairy housekeeper, asks Chise and Ruth to go shopping in town, where they run into Angelica. Angelica points out Chise's dependence on Elias, and Chise realizes she is right. Later, Chise finds Elias in his room, stuck in his inhuman form, and stays with him throughout the night. The following day, Elias leaves without a word, prompting Chise and Ruth to search for him. While wondering, Chise meets a Lan Sid, sorry if I mispronounced these words, a fairy who feeds on a human's life source, but is haunting a wise man named Joel without taking his life force. Chise believes the Leanan Sid has feelings for Joel, but the Leanan Sid insists it is impossible and gives Chise a kiss before telling her to visit Joel someday. Chise eventually finds Elias in the forest, and they have a heated conversation. Elias promises to reveal everything when he is ready, and shortly afterward, a fairy familiar delivers a message from Lyndall requesting that Chise visit the dragons. Chise faces difficulties in controlling her magic, so Lyndall offers to craft a wand from Uncle Nevin's tree to assist her. However, Chise worries about being separated from Elias when Lyndall invites her and Ruth to the land of the dragons without him. Meanwhile, Elias feels the void of Chise's absence at home. He communicates through a magical messenger bird with Adolf Stroud. an administrator from the college who wants to discuss Chisei's future. During her stay with Lindell, Chisei embarks on a search for a suitable branch to serve as her wand. Lindell shares his history with Elias, describing how they met centuries ago and how Rahab named Elias as Lindell's apprentice after failing to recognize what he was. Elias recalls only the color red from his past. Later, Renfred confronts Elias, warning him that he will destroy Chisei's life if he does not take action. Lindell shares his experience of training Elias, noting his struggle to comprehend humans. He also reveals an incident in which Elias almost killed some villagers who attacked Lindell. Despite this, Chisei confesses she had never been afraid of Elias. Lindell advises Chisei to tell Elias how she truly feels. Chisei begins to carve Nevin's branch into a wand, while Lindell sings a beautiful song that causes flowers to bloom. During this time, Chisei accidentally casts a minor spell that allows her to see Elias. Elias expresses his loneliness without her, and Chisei promises to return home after using the wand. Later, Lindell compares himself to a father raising two children. Silver buries the magical bird that relayed Renfred and Adolf's messages to Elias, implying that Elias killed the bird after they warned him about the future. Elias ponders his growing attachment to Chisei while she is away carving her wand with Lindell. After finishing it, they imbue the wand with magical gems and Chisei's hair using a new spell sung by Lindell. Holding the wand, Chisei has a vision of Uncle Nevin in the spirit realm. Nevin tells Chisei to consider what she wants to do with her life and assures her that he is grateful her mother protected her. Chisei admits to Nevin that she fears Elias might no longer want her around and that her growing feelings for him scare her. Upon waking up, she joyfully announces that she has something to tell Elias and uses magic to transform into a giant phoenix to fly back to him. Elias is overjoyed upon her return, feeling that their home is warm again. However, before Chisei can share her news, she falls asleep from exhaustion. She dreams of a happy time with her parents and awakens after 2 days, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in years. Chisei and Elias work on shearing woolly bugs, a type of flying sheep that generates cold air from its wool. However, the same creatures drain Chisei's body heat, causing her to become dangerously cold. Elias saves her and takes her inside to warm up. Chisei reveals to Elias that she knows about his past impulse to eat humans, including the time he was tempted to eat her while in his inhuman form. Despite Elias trying to erase the memory, Chisei stops him because he is the only family she has left after losing her parents and brother. Chisei also reveals that her parents had the sight and could see the same creatures that most humans cannot. Elias admits that he has difficulty understanding emotions, but he realized that he felt lonely when Chisei was gone and felt warmth when she returned. Chisei promises to teach him about human emotions. Later, Ash and I, a fairy acquaintance of Elias, visits them and gives Chisei a gift for capturing and binding spirits. The gift turns out to be a trap, and Ash and I turns Chisei into a fox by binding her in an animal skin. When Chisei leaves for the forest, Elias asks her to stay as he feels cold without her. Similarly, Chisei feels the same, and so she returns to him. While in the forest, the Linen Cid asks Chisei for help to save Joel, who is dying as she was unintentionally been draining his life. After examining Joel, Elias predicts that he only has a week left to live. Although Joel accepts his fate, he wishes to speak with the red-eyed girl in his garden. Chisei decides to create a forbidden potion to allow Joel to see the Linen Cid. Although Elias is hesitant, he warns Chisei to not overexert herself. After 5 days, the potion allows Joel to see the Linen Cid, and he offers her his remaining life, happy to have lived longer than he expected. Joel fades away, leaving Chisei devastated. The Linen Cid decides to stay in Joel's garden to avoid hurting any more people. King Oberon confiscates the rest of the forbidden potion, Chisei becomes weaker from limiting her magic, and the ring she wears shatters. Elias and King Oberon accompany Chisei to the land of the fairies, while time flows much faster than the normal world in order for her to recuperate under the care of the fairy doctor, Shannon. During their visit, Titania suggests that it would be safer for Chisei to live among the fairies, but Elias rejects the offer, stating that he values Chisei's free will. Shannon tricks Chisei into approaching a pool and then tries to drown her, citing her hatred for Sleighbeggies. Chisei manages to resist and overpower Shannon, but then discovers that Shannon's injuries have been healed. Shannon apologizes for using Chisei's sudden desire to live as a healing spell. Meanwhile, Silver becomes agitated as Elias and Chisei do not return, and she remembers her past life as a banshee. Spriggan rescues her and advises her to always protect the weak, transforming her into a Silky and placing her with the human family that will eventually live in Elias's house. Chise and Elias eventually leave the land of fairies and realize that months have passed as it is now winter. The Yule twins, fairy creatures, remind Chise and Elias to burn a Yule log for the horned god and dark lady on Christmas Eve. During the evening, Chise and Elias share an awkward kiss under mistletoe, which causes a tingling sensation on Elias's back. Later, Chise goes shopping with Alice to help her pick out a gift for Renfred, and they meet Hazel, a centaur postman who provides gift suggestions. They encounter Elias's former drug dealer, who tries to convince Alice to buy drugs again, but they manage to escape. Alice reveals that Renfred saved her from drug addiction and took her in as an apprentice. Ruth expresses happiness in finding a friend as Chise returns home and gives Elias a new bolo tie. In exchange, Elias gives Chise a teddy bear he crafted and other gifts from Angelica, Simon, and Lyndall. Meanwhile, Ash and I spots a young boy in the woods. Stella seeks Chise's assistance in finding her brother Ethan, who has disappeared. Chise discovers that the teddy bear gifted by Elias can produce crystal flowers by absorbing magic. Angelica presents Chise with a magical reduction bracelet. In exchange for homemade sweets, Stella agrees to pay Chise to locate Ethan. Chise uses the crystal flowers to gather information from various creatures, leading to the discovery that Ash and I has abducted Ethan. Stella realizes her mistake of leaving Ethan alone after an argument. Ash and I captures Elias and Ethan, erasing their and Stella's memories. To locate them, Chise transforms into a bear using magical fur. Ethan forgives Stella after Ash and I restores their memories. Although they succeed in finding Ethan, Chise is left saddened as she remembers her own lost brother. Stella arrives at Chise's place to pay her with sweets, but Elias becomes irritated and runs away. Chise locates him hiding in the shadows, but he restrains her and appears to want to bite her. As Stella leaves for London, both Ash and I and Cartophilus are seen nearby. Chise becomes fearful that Elias might consume her and sends a distress signal to Ruth. With the assistance of the fairy daughter of the Dark Lady, Ruth locates the shadow where Elias is hiding. Chise realizes that Elias is upset about Stella as he tightens his grip on her. She becomes angry and threatens to harm herself. This causes Elias to suddenly let go. Elias admits that he had become afraid that Chise would leave him. Later, Chise sings a lullaby to Elias as they sleep together in the same bed. Chise becomes concerned when Elias sleeps for several days and she visits Angelica for help. Angelica suggests that Chise might have unintentionally put Elias under a sleeping spell. Chise wakes up Elias by offering him a remedy to drink, but then she faints. Meanwhile, Cartophilus kidnaps a dragon. Cartophilus conducts a procedure on the dragon, causing it to become traumatized and transform into a giant chimera. In a dream, Chise visits London and encounters Cartophilus, who is suffering from pain and begs her to call him Joseph. During their conversation, Chise discovers that Cartophilus has stolen a teleportation device from Renfred to use in his plan to capture and sell a dragon at an underground magical auction. To protect the dragon, Chise and the others decide to bid on and purchase it. Meanwhile, a woman contacts Chise and they make a mysterious agreement. While Elias and Renfred argue about their future, the Chimera dragon goes on a rampage due to the effects of Cartophilus's procedure. Chise absorbs the dark magic from the dragon to end its suffering, but both of them fall unconscious and are swept away by the river. Chise wakes up to find her left arm mutated and restrained by bandages. She realizes that her body is deteriorating due to the curse she absorbed from the dragon. Shannon urges Chise to stay in the kingdom, hoping that a fairy can help her. Chise promises to consider the offer. Elias and Chise discuss their future, knowing that Chise's time is limited. Marielle, the witch from the auction, visits them and notices Chise's arm. She offers to help Chise find a cure, but only if she becomes a witch and joins her coven. Chise attends a meeting with Marielle, who warns Elias about Chise. Elias and Chise meet Phyllis, Marielle's high priestess, but they decline to join the coven. As they leave, Marielle apologizes for wasting their time and passes a message to Elias, suggesting that to save a life, someone must be sacrificed. Upon returning home, Elias captures Stella, detecting that Cartophilus has possessed her. Cartophilus, as Stella, congratulates Elias for being a monster. After berating Elias and leaving home, Chise pursues Stella. Kartophilius promises to Chise that he will release Stella in return for Chise leaving with him and participating in his experiments. As they teleport and vanish, Elias arrives late and only finds Chise's necklace. Chise wakes up in Kartophilius' laboratory and learns about his plan to swap her arm with his, hoping to die and break his curse of eternal life. After performing corneal transplantation without her consent, Kartophilius enters Chise's mind, where she has a flashback to her past. She remembers being tormented by creatures due to being a slaybagy and her family's abandonment, which led to her mother's suicide. Chise confronts and reconciles with her mother's memory and finds a fragment of Kartophilius in her mind. The fragment reveals that Kartophilius has been seeking one wish for thousands of years. However, Chise wakes up in reality and tells Kartophilius about the fragment's revelation. In an effort to find Chise, Titania and Oberon offer their help to Elias, but with the condition that Chise be taken to the Faerie kingdom. Although Elias is tempted by the offer, he ultimately decides against it as neither he nor Chise would want to be confined there. To aid in the search, Titania and Elias cast a locating spell. Meanwhile, Phyllis urges Marielle to help fix the problem she caused. Chise discovers that Kartophilius had thrown a stone at Jesus during his crucifixion, resulting in his punishment of immortality. Many years later, Kartophilius merged with a young gravekeeper named Joseph, taking over his body. He then attacks Chise, but she is rescued by Elias and their allies. Despite their efforts, Kartophilius manages to escape, but Chise follows him to a mountain. Chise confronts Kartophilius at the fountain and they argue about their different forms of suffering. Ashen Eye appears and attacks Chise, but is defeated by Elias and Ariel. Chise hugs Kartophilius and sings a lullaby to end their suffering. Kartophilius reveals that Chise's cursed arm will now extend her life. Later, Chise forgives Elias and they make an agreement about their future. Kartophilius is now being kept by Chise in a peaceful slumber. Chise receives birthday gifts from Angelica and Stella, and later surprises Elias by appearing in a wedding dress in the forest. They exchange rings and promise to stay together forever. If you haven't, subscribe for more Ancient Magus' Bride content, and as well drop a like if this helped you. Thanks for watching, bye bye.